when you have talent, you are given another chance.
Here's Chris Mannix.
Is it a fair critique
Yes.
to wonder if this Celtics team has enough? And if they don't, what are the cards they can play to get someone? I mean, we were talking a couple of years ago, Chris, about this team being thin up front when they had Grant Williams.
Yeah.
You know, that was the whole Jakob Poeltl, will they or won't they trade for him? Will they get multiple first-round draft picks for him? They didn't do it then, but they were nervous about playing Milwaukee with Grant Williams, who has been effective in the past against the Milwaukee Bucks. Now Grant Williams is gone. I know Porzingis having himself a nice preseason. It's nice. It's always good to fantasize about the rebound, the three-point shot. It's very nice. It's great. Love preseason basketball. But is it a fair criticism to wonder if this team has enough up front to win at the highest level?
Yeah, of course. And that's the big question mark. Every comment about where the Celtics will finish will be prefaced with, if they stay healthy. And you are rolling the dice with, even in moving Rob, who is not the beacon of health, to rely on a 37-year-old, power forward center who has had to take the second night of back-to-backs off, and Kristaps Porzingis, who hasn't had a healthy season in a long time, last year notwithstanding, playing for the Wizards where there was no pressure to be out there. And so, yeah, I would say that's your number one concern if you're Boston. What are the ways to alleviate it? Well, cross your fingers on Luke Cornett, who has not had a very good preseason and is sort of, is not probably a better fourth option than third option at center. But you brought it up. I think last year they learned a little bit of a lesson. They were hesitant to go get a Jakob Poeltl and pay the sort of heavy price, even though I think it ended up just being like 2 second-round picks, right? It was just that they didn't want to have to pay him moving forward because
the way it was explained to me was, look, they offered a first, Toronto offered a first, the Spurs wanted 2 firsts from Boston, and because they didn't get it, the Raptors pick was going to be better than the Celtics picks. Right. They decided on that one. I think that ownership made it clear to Brad Stevens, like, if this guy Poeltl, is going to be part of our success, we'll pay him. I think they knew how much he was going to be worth. They just didn't want to dive deeper into the draft war chest to go and get him. But they didn't get him, and that's the bottom.
And that'll be the decision this year, where if you get to, I could see them having to cross that bridge in November, where you've got an idea now, okay, like, is Al holding up? How much can you run Porzingis out there? The one thing they can do is they do have the versatility to sort of go big, go small. So even if you have only one of those guys available, you can still move, whether it's Derek White, who's not the starter in the normal lineup, but like if you go double big, but then throw him in there every time Al's got to rest, you can sort of patch it together. And, going small for them has just been sort of a signature. So it's probably not the worst thing, but I can absolutely see this team. One, as rosters start to trim down, is there someone out there that's a better third option that ends up for being discarded for salary reasons or whatever? And then it'll come down to what's available at the trade deadline, right? Like and I think they'd be more willing to push in if that's their one weak spot, right? Like last year, you still had other question marks. They never quite tapped into what 22 was, and you were just hoping that Rob would get back there, and you just kind of rolled the dice on health and getting there. This year, you might not have that luxury. You might have to just go for it.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to, because, look, you're right. Their small ball lineup is going to be wildly effective against a lot of teams, where you can play just one big, Tatum, Brown, White, Holiday, bring guys off the bench. They're going to beat a lot of teams that way. But when they get to the playoffs, the Bucks are not going to play down to them. The Bucks have, Brook Lopez, who is ageless at this point, is one of the best defensive players in the NBA, one of the great box out guys, as I hear all the time in the NBA. Giannis is Giannis. Bobby Portis is vital to their rotation. You're going to have to play these guys. And if you're down one or, Horford or Porzingis, or even if you have them both, I just think you're going to need more muscle up front. And the Celtics, what do they have? They've still got that trade exception they got for Grant Williams, right? They've still got a couple of first round draft picks that they can deal. It feels like there's another domino to fall here. It feels like there's one more big they've got to go out there and get.
The balance is going to be, do you use up the last bit of your powder when like nothing is guaranteed in the NBA, and we know like there could be bigger names available, like what happens in Philly, and even Giannis' situation was unsettled before they make that trade. So do you want to use up all your rest of your available first round picks to sort of
what
just
are they holding it for? Like, what in your mind are they holding it for? Like, they're not the Knicks. Like, the Knicks are holding it because they're hoping to throw 8 firsts for Joel Embiid. The Celtics are not in that position. Like, what could they possibly be holding it for?
So, I mean, I think you do. Like, let's just say it fizzles for whatever reason this year, which I don't think is going to happen. But certainly, like, if it does, and you've paid all this money and paid all these picks to cobble together this roster, and it just doesn't work, then you have harder conversations about what the future core of this team is. Like, who are you rolling forward with? And I think we know Tatum's going to be there, and so Jaylen Brown's name will invariably come back up. And if you pair Jaylen Brown with first round picks, you're going to get into some conversation. So, before the Lillard thing, I would have said they probably had eyes on what was happening with Giannis, and certainly you got to look at what happens with Embiid. Now, are either East Coast rivals going to trade to you? Probably not. And your picks aren't as sexy as other teams that are gonna that might struggle more. And so, but I do think they love the idea of still being as good as they are, being in that mix. So it just comes down to balancing that, right? Like, just how many picks can you spend? Unless this is a surefire thing. And again, if they're close, I think they're just like, you know what, let's just go for it, because this is our core for probably the next 2-3 years anyway, if it works. So it'll just be that balance.
Well, we're back with another week of football, and DraftKings Sportsbook is keeping us in the NFL action with great offers every single game day. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Throw $5 down on any of this week's epic matchups to walk away with an instant winner. And DraftKings isn't stopping there. All customers can take advantage of 2 new offers every single game this September. So football is more fun when you're in on the action. So download the app now and sign up with the code Mannix. New customers can bet just $5 to get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, with code Mannix. The crown is yours.